What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Now, interest in this year's NBA draft is starting to ramp up. The draft is only 3 weeks away, and if you want some information on some of the top prospects in this draft, make sure to follow us over on our main NBA channel called NBA Uprise. The link is down there in the description below, and we've dropped a few draft profiles over there. I know you guys have probably seen the draft profiles that we've dropped over here, but we're dropping most of them over on that channel, so I'd appreciate it if you went and subscribed. It would mean a lot to me, and with that being said, let's jump into this Trade Talk Tuesday video. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about trade targets that I see Blazer fans constantly overrating. Now, there could be multiple reasons why I think Blazer fans overrate them as trade targets. It could be any combination of them being a poor fit on this team, their skills being overrated, their contract being bad, or we'd have to trade too much in order to get them. So with that being said, let's jump into these 5 targets that Blazer fans overrate. The 5th one is Terrence Ross. Now, I don't see him thrown out as much as the other names on this list, but every time he gets thrown out, I cringe. Every trade involving Terrence Ross involves us trading Trevor Ariza and sometimes a first-round pick for Terrence Ross. Now, I don't understand the need for Terrence Ross. He's not a defensive player. He's very poor on that end, and he's a very streaky offensive player. He's not even necessarily a good three-point shooter. He only shot 35% last season. His efficiency is average, and all he can do is score the ball. He's a guy that I honestly wouldn't play over a Gary Trent Jr., over a Rodney Hood, or over a Trevor Ariza. Trevor Ariza is what we need in terms of a 3-and-D small forward. He's literally our only big wing that has a chance defensively against guys like Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James. So trading him for somebody that has no impact on the defensive end makes no sense. What also doesn't make sense is his contract, because he still has 3 years left on that contract, making around $12 million per year. He's overpaid. That contract is bad. That contract would be hard to trade at the trade deadline next year. He just doesn't make sense from a fit perspective as well from a contract perspective. I'd rather have Trevor Ariza on 1 year, $12.8 million next year than Terrence Ross with 3 years left on his deal when he's not as good for the team as Trevor Ariza would be. The next target I have is a bit controversial, and I'm not getting into the topic about his talent necessarily. I'm not saying he's an overrated player. I just don't think his fit on this team would be ideal. This player is Ben Simmons. Now, when you have 2 star level players, you want them to be able to mesh and coexist on both sides of the floor. Defensively, this would be fine, but offensively, it wouldn't be a good fit in my opinion. You want 2 guys that can play off the ball when the other one has the ball. Dame would be good playing off the ball with Ben Simmons facilitating, but when Dame has the ball, you don't want a guy out there that is allergic to the 3-point shot. Ben Simmons is one of those guys that needs the ball to be effective, and the only reason Philadelphia would trade him is because they don't think he can coexist with Joel Embiid. If he can't coexist with Joel Embiid, I don't see how he's going to coexist with Damian Lillard, because he's not a guy who's going to help space the floor for Dame. When Dame drives, he's going to be driving into a lot more traffic than usual, and Ben Simmons just isn't a good fit next to Damian Lillard in my opinion. He's a talented player, but he's not the guy I want to pair Dame with. The third guy on this list is former Blazer Lamarcus Aldridge. Now, I think there's multiple reasons why Lamarcus Aldridge is an overrated fit for the Portland Trail Blazers. Number 1 is what we'd have to trade to get him. We'd have to trade Rodney Hood as well as Trevor Ariza. And then we'd likely have to give up a young player or a first-round pick, and that's just not worth it. Trading those 2 wings doesn't make sense to trade for a power forward who's really a center at this point in his career. We talk about Dame and CJ not being able to coexist defensively, but the same people that bring that up all the time also seem to want Lamarcus Aldridge, which doesn't make sense to me. He is slowing down in terms of his lateral quickness. He cannot defend 4s at a decent level anymore. He is a center. But if you're trading for Lamarcus Aldridge, you're trading for him to start him next to Nurkic and play Aldridge at the 4. Aldridge at center is a fine defender. Aldridge at the power forward position is a poor defender. And then we get into his 3-point shot, which I know he shot well from the arc last year. He shot 37%, but that's the only year in his career where he shot decently from the 3-point line, taking more than about 1 attempt per game. So I don't exactly trust his 3-point shot yet. So you're talking about going and getting a guy at the power forward position who has a questionable 3-point shot and is going to be poor defensively? And you're talking about giving up 2 wings as well as picks or young prospects in order to get him? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like people want him back just for the storyline. But I'm not a sucker for storylines. I want this team to win, and I don't think a trade for Lamarcus Aldridge would make us any better. It might make us worse, and it'd hurt us in the future. It just doesn't make any sense. The next target on this list is Harrison Barnes, who is extremely overpaid, making about $22 million a year. Honestly, I don't know how many years are left on his contract, but I know it's more than one, and at that point, that's a bad contract for a guy who's a mediocre player. To go and get Harrison Barnes, we'd have to trade Trevor Ariza and Rodney Hood to make that happen, and it just doesn't make sense to go and do that. Barnes is a good three-point shooter, but so is Ariza and Rodney Hood. Barnes is a solid defender, but so is Ariza and Rodney Hood. I don't have Harrison Barnes any higher than those two players. He might be better than Rodney Hood considering Rodney Hood's injury, but I wouldn't put Barnes above Ariza. I'm not a fan of just shuffling the deck and making a lateral move just to make a move, and that's exactly what this would be. Our depth would be hurt by losing 2 wings for 1, and the only way I want to consolidate Trevor Ariza and Rodney Hood is if we go and get a wing that we know is better than those two. Harrison Barnes is not noticeably better than those two, so I don't understand why Blazer fans want him. And then that contract would be untradeable. It'd basically lock us into this team for the next couple of years. We wouldn't really be able to make a move at the deadline because we wouldn't have contracts that are tradable because nobody wants to pay Harrison Barnes $22, $23 million a year. Yet I do see some Blazer fans that want to go out and get Harrison Barnes and make this type of move, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. He's extremely overrated as a trade target, and he's not a guy on my radar at all. And then the number 1 target on this list, some of you guys already know who I'm about to say. This guy is suggested all the time, and I just don't understand why. It's Aaron Gordon. I am boggled by how fascinated Blazer fans are with Aaron Gordon. What do we need from the power forward spot? We need a guy that can hit threes, and we need a guy who can defend. Aaron Gordon doesn't check those boxes. He's a career 32% three-point shooter. Last year, he only shot 31%. He's not a good three-point shooter at all. So you're talking about the floor not being spaced well for Dame. When Dame has the ball, Aaron Gordon would not be good playing off of Dame. He's also not a good defender. His defense is overrated by some Blazer fans. Some Blazer fans say, oh, he's a solid defender. He's a good defender. He's not. At best, I could see him being average, but he just doesn't really make an impact on that end of the floor. He's also a guy who needs to play in an up-tempo offense, and Portland doesn't do that at all. Getting a guy who can't space the floor, can't defend, and needs to be able to play in a fast break offense in order to be his most effective self just doesn't make any sort of sense to me. What also doesn't make sense is what Blazer fans are willing to give up to get him. I see Blazer fans willing to give up a first-round pick as well as Zach Collins in order to get Aaron Gordon. They're willing to give up Trevor Ariza in that package in order to match salary. That's a downgrade for sure, and I just don't understand the logic with it. It's like Blazer fans still think he's 20 years old. He's not. He's 25. He's never going to be much better than he is right now, and right now, he's not good enough to be our starting power forward. Even if he was on this roster without us trading anything, I wouldn't even start him. So giving up a Zach Collins, a first-round pick, a Trevor Ariza for Aaron Gordon is just... I don't understand why Blazer fans want that. It doesn't make any sort of sense to me. We need 3-and-D guys, and we need guys who fit next to Dame and fit this system. Aaron Gordon doesn't do any of that. So I beg you, if you're one of those people out there begging for Aaron Gordon, please stop, because I'm tired of seeing his names in trade suggestions. So anyway, that wraps up this video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if I'm sleeping on one of these targets, and let me know why I'm wrong on any of these targets. Also, let me know if you agree. Let me know if I missed anybody as well. Who else do you think is an overrated trade target that you see suggested by a lot of Blazer fans? Anyway, that's a wrap for this video. Remember to subscribe to NBA Uprise, link in the description below, and I'm out of here. Thank you guys for watching. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.